Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen wants to see my phone to make sure I wasn't taking pictures of her. After that, entitled mom demands I take her kid to the movies with me and pay for it. And after that, I reported my former landlord for tax fraud as revenge. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to check someone's phone. That's what you think, Reddit boy. I know the code to your lock screen. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen wants to see my phone to make sure I wasn't taking her pics. I'm at the gym today and I'm walking towards an empty squat rack. 10 feet in front of and 1 foot to the right of my rack is another rack that a girl, Belinda, 20, is doing squats on. I went through my workout as normal. After every set, I check my phone for 5 to 20 seconds. I track every single set for every single lift in a spreadsheet to note how much I lifted and for how many reps. Sometimes I need to remind myself what I did last week to make sure I'm progressing. Sometimes I'm just checking the time. Sometimes I'm changing the song on my Spotify. Tonight, specifically, there was a very important basketball game being played, so I wanted to keep up with the score. So I used my phone a lot at the gym. I finished my third set when Belinda turns around and walks up to me with her phone up, yelling, "What are you doing? Creep, stop taking pictures of me." I'm caught completely off guard, but I explained that I'm just taking notes on what I'm lifting, that I'm not paying attention to her at all. She's being extra loud, so other people are looking at me. Plus, she's recording me, and she demands I go through my pictures and videos to show her what I was recording, and I delete the ones I took of her. I try to again explain I didn't record anything of her at all. She's yelling that if I have nothing to hide, I should have no problem showing her. So I insist on going to gym management. Once at the front, we both explain our stories. She's still recording. The normal gym attendee asks if I'm willing to show her, a neutral third party, my pictures and videos. She also says if I have nothing to hide, it's not a big deal and we can squash it right now. I refuse. I have my own private pictures in there, plus those of my girlfriend. I'm not gonna let anyone force me to show them some BS. I do show her my spreadsheet, which shows it's been revised over 15 times in the last 50 minutes, so that proves what I was using my phone for. That was received well, but they still expected me to prove my innocence. I told them they need to review the cameras. Apparently, only the manager has access to them, so I was told he'd call me before the end of the night, in about an hour. My girlfriend tells me I should have just let them look at my phone because she doesn't mind and it would have cleared this all up, but I mind. I get that someone wouldn't want someone taking pics of them, but violating my privacy to prove I wasn't taking pics of you crosses a line for me. Edit. Just talk to the manager. He checked the footage. He couldn't see what was on my screen in the footage, but he said it looks like I had my phone pointed towards the ground right in front of me the whole time. In his opinion, not high enough to even take a pic of her, and never angled in her direction. Apparently, I was gonna get banned from the gym if the cameras didn't absolve me. And also, I'm not the first person that has been accused by Brenda, but she legit had a creeper before. Well, what would you have done in this situation? Would you have showed them the pictures in your phone or not? Please let us know. Ooh, this is not a good situation. I can't wait to read what our audience thinks of this. Entitled mom demands I take her kid to the movies with me and pay for it. A little bit of backstory. I'm a female in her late teens. I still live at home due to mental health problems and family issues. I have another place with another family I stay at when things get too much and I just want to get away. I got to know this family after working in the nursery their kids went to. I became their babysitter that way, and I'm now a very close friend of their mother, who we'll call Mom 2, and the dad we'll call Dad 2. I'm like family. I see them as my other family. They have 3 small kids all under the age of 6. I offered to take their oldest daughter, Maya, who's 5, to the movies to a special kids event screening of Moana, for kids ages 3 to 8 with gift bags, sing-along events, etc. Maya has a younger sister, Sila, who's 3, and a younger brother, baby Frankie, who's 16 months. Maya was looking forward to this day so much. She's an amazing big sister with a big heart and the sweetest personality. But sometimes it can be frustrating for her to always have the younger ones included, so I made sure to make this day extra special. I don't have my driver's license yet, So we took the bus and went over to the movie an hour early to get the tickets, pick out a few snacks, etc. We sat at a table about half an hour before they let us into the movie. Maya sat in my lap and playing a game on my phone. It was lovely. Then someone called out Maya's name. We both looked at the woman and I recognized her as Mel, a sweet but sadly very poor woman and a good friend of Mom too. They had just walked in to use the restroom before they would go to catch the bus back home. Mel has 2 daughters herself, a 6-year-old, Lily, and a baby, Frankie's age, Emma. I've babysat for them once before and met Mel a couple of times. She asked if I'd mind watching her daughters while she used the restroom. I didn't mind at all. Lily asked what we were doing, and I explained that we were going to see Vaiana. Turns out, that was Lily's favorite movie. This was the conversation when Mel came back. "Mommy, I want to watch Vaiana too." "Sure, honey. You can watch it when we get home, while Emma naps." "No, I want to watch it here like Maya. Can I please?" She looked at me, and I explained what the event we were going to was. "I'm sorry, sweetie, but we can't. Emma needs to get home for her nap." The disappointment on this girl's face just broke me, but she was not having a tantrum or causing a scene. She just said, "Okay, Mama," in her little sad voice. I stood up to hand back Emma. "You know, I wouldn't mind taking Lily with us. It's no problem. I'm sure Maya would love it." She smiled an apologetic smile at me. "That's very kind of you, but I can't afford it. We don't have much money for activities right now, I'm afraid, but thanks for the offer." "Hey, it's no problem. It's on me." "No, I can't accept that. I would feel bad." "Please, I insist. It's really no problem. I would love to have her join us." She teared up and pulled me into a huge hug. Her daughter was so excited and jumped into my arms. Mel left, and I walked up to buy another ticket for Lily. That's when a mother and her daughter, who had been there the entire time, stopped me midway. Honestly, I don't know how much of the conversation the entitled mom heard. I just know she heard the last part where I offered to take Lily with me since she spoke up. "My daughter loves Vaiana too." "Oh, are you gonna go see it too?" "No, she was just gonna watch another movie. But since you took that woman's kid with you, you can take mine too while I go run my errands." "What?" "You said you didn't mind taking that kid with you, so why not take mine?" Because I don't know you, and I know her?" "Well, if she's comfortable leaving her kid with you, then so am I." "Are you kidding?" "No, I am not. It would make it easier for the both of us." "How would it make it easier for me to have another stranger's kid with me?" "I meant for my daughter and I. I could go run some errands, knowing she was safe, and my daughter wouldn't watch a movie alone." "I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind, but are you sure she's okay with being left with strangers?" "Yes, don't worry, she won't mind. She's watched by strangers all the time." "What's her name and age?" "Penelope. We call her Poppy, and she's 6. "If you're sure you're comfortable with this, then fine. It's better than for her to be all on her own. Just be sure to be back here when the movie is over, and go buy the snacks you want her to bring with her." "Wait, are you gonna buy her snacks?" Points at Lily. "Yes." "Then you can buy my daughter snacks too." "Lady, I'm doing you a favor here. I'm okay with her following along, but that's all. I'm not paying." "Ugh, fine. It's okay. She doesn't need anything. You have plenty already. You can just share." I sighed and walked over to buy Lily's ticket and snacks. The entitled mom followed me. When I asked if there was a way we could get to sit 4 people next to each other, the worker said it wouldn't be a problem. Then it came to the payment. The worker asked if it was all paid for together. The entitled mom was quick to say yes. I was surprised, thinking she was going to pay for it all as some sort of thank you. Boy, was I wrong. She stood there looking at me, and that's when it clicked. "You want me to pay?" She huffed. "Yes, of course." I was shocked and bent down to Poppy's level. Just to clarify, Poppy was a sweet, quiet, and very polite girl, and I pray that Mom is not going to mess that up as she grows older. "Sweetie, I'm sorry, but your mommy is not very nice to me, and I can't take you with me when she's being like that. It has nothing to do with you. You seem very sweet, but I do not like your mom." "How dare you talk to my daughter like that?" "Well, nothing I'm saying is wrong." "I am being nice to you." "Oh, by demanding me to pay for your daughter's ticket?" But I heard you offering to pay for her ticket. Yes, because I know her. Fine, I'll pay half of her ticket. Nah, that ain't good enough. You said it's all paid for together, and I'm not the one paying. You want me to pay for that brat's ticket too? No, of course not. I want you to pay for Lily's ticket and her snacks. I can't believe this. You can't force me. Well, I'm not. I told you I'm not paying for your daughter's ticket, and you were the one that said it was all paid for together. Oh, fine. We are splitting up. I pay for the ticket, and she pays for the rest. Then the worker spoke up. Ma'am, if you had just the tiniest bit of unselfishness inside of you, you'd pay for all of this and apologize, or you might just be one of the trashiest people I've ever seen. I've witnessed the entire thing, and this kind girl is giving a kid something her mother is not able to do, due to her not being able to afford it. And you take advantage of that by not only demanding she watch your kid for free, but also demanding that she spend her money on a stranger's kid just because you don't want to pay? You're one of the worst humans and mothers I've ever seen, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Entitled Mom went quiet, and so did I. She didn't say anything else, just reached into her purse, paid with her card, and left. The worker then yelled after her, "Have a good day, ma'am." I gave her a massive tip for that. She's my hero. Thanks, Natalie, for being awesome. Anyways, all three girls had a blast and played so well together. Afterwards, the mom stood in the lobby as I held her kid's hand. She grabbed her, handed me a $50 bill, and left without a word. Afterwards, I took both girls to McDonald's. Edit. Did I do the right thing letting Poppy follow along with us? Maybe not. But in that moment, all I could think about was that girl, that she shouldn't be alone in the movie theater. I'd rather have her around me since I'm the only person that I know 100% she'd be safe with. I mean, what are the odds that something could have happened to her if she had been alone in there? Thankfully, nothing happened, and she let me know that it had been the best day of her life. I reported my former landlord for tax fraud as revenge. I'm glad he lost his house. I found this guy on Craigslist a few years ago. I like renting condos from private owners as opposed to renting apartments. Typically, by renting a condo, it's safer. You have more caring residents, you get to have a luxury apartment-style home with all the amenities, and you can negotiate pricing, etc. I am an excellent tenant, and anyone who I have rented from will tell you that. I paid a $1,000 deposit to move into this guy's condo. I was on a year lease. He lives in another state, but we were on the same time zone. On month 8 of my lease, I came home to a door that wouldn't open. I couldn't get the door unlocked for anything. I had 2 keys on me. As much as I tried to turn them, I couldn't. One of the keys even broke in the lock. I waited 2 hours. I called, texted, and emailed my landlord, and he did not pick up. I thought maybe he had someone over to change the locks for some reason. I honestly didn't know what to think and had no one to help me. The lady who lived across from me saw me in distress as she was going into her apartment. I had never seen her, but she asked me if I was okay, and I explained to her that I couldn't get into the apartment. She told me that she knows of an on-call locksmith. She gives me his number. I tell her thanks and reach out to my landlord a few more times. No response. I had no choice but to call the locksmith, plus I had to go to the bathroom. The locksmith arrives and could not get the door unlocked with my key. He says he can replace the lock for like $100. I told him I was renting a condo and couldn't get in touch with the owner and didn't know when would be the next time I could get in touch with him. After he took the lock off, he told me it was faulty. So he replaced the lock. I told the landlord this via email and text and voicemail and told him that I could send him copies of the keys if he wanted. Okay, so fast forward to the end of my lease. I demand that he does a walkthrough with me. He said he wouldn't. I told him that if he didn't do a walkthrough, I would be notifying the condo office, as he did not have permission to sublease by the association. He then had a friend to serve as his proxy to come meet me and walk through the unit. The place was spotless. I know how to clean. I took multiple photos and videos and showed his proxy, who is a police officer, the unit. Actually, they are both police officers who used to work together. We both literally tested all of the appliances, faucets, checked the blinds, carpets, hardwood, everything. His proxy gave me the okay and said that everything looked great. I gave his proxy the keys and later that night left for my new city. So fast forward to a month later. I haven't heard from him about my deposit. He ignored all my emails and phone calls. He finally gets back with me 2 months after I move out and has all this ridiculous, made-up crap about how I damaged his unit. Broken blinds, scratches on the hardwood floor. He made it seem like I damaged his floor by getting the lock replaced. He said there were scratches on the outside of his door, rust here and there, broken dishwasher, broken sink, oven was broken dryer. Just all these lies. I would never leave a unit in that condition. He sent me an itemized list for all of the charges that magically came out to be $1,000, the same as my deposit. He was always planning to keep my money. He wanted that money to either ball on it or upgrade his condo. I hated him. I decided I wasn't going to go to the court because I had moved to a different state and live alone, but I thought of something. He rented to me under the table and likely didn't claim my rent payments as earned income. I had all my wire transfers on my bank statement. I had his routing and account number and a copy of his driver's license, as we agreed to swap IDs when I signed the lease to make sure I wasn't getting scammed. I found his out-of-state address online, gathered all my bank statements, gathered his bank account numbers, and made a report with the IRS. About a few years later, I check up on things, and that jerk lost his condo and lost everything he owned in bankruptcy. I paid for and downloaded his court records and saw proof that he lost everything, including his condo and cars, and he had his bank account seized. I'm not sure if he went to jail or anything, but I'm so glad that jerk got his karma. He stole money from me that I gave him to rent a condo, and he ends up losing that same condo to bankruptcy. Forget him and anyone who calls him a friend. He can rot for all I care. Have you ever had a landlord who tried to take advantage of you? If so, what did you do about it? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for insisting that my wife's friends stay in a hotel? Most of this took place a few years ago, but it's needed for context. A few years ago, my wife's best friend got a partner, and it was a big deal as he had never had a long-term partner before. But as he lives quite a few hours away, a weekend visit seemed like the best way to meet. Our spare room has a bookshelf with the remaining items of my nerdy collection. I had sold most of it to help buy us the house, and these were items that were the most valuable to me sentimentally and value-wise. I don't mind people staying in the room, I just ask them to be mindful of my stuff. So he and his partner came for a weekend. Things were going perfectly fine. His boyfriend was very shy, but seemed like a nice guy. Unfortunately, I got the news that my gran got a really bad fall, and it caused an aneurysm. She was given an estimate of a few days before she would pass. I was obviously upset and went to see her in the hospital. My wife wanted to come with me, so we made sure her friends were okay and left them to it late afternoon. We were in the hospital for about 8 hours as she slipped in and out of consciousness and seemed in terrible pain. Finally, we decided to go home and get some rest before going back the next day. When we got there are some clothes on the floor in the living room, and our rabbit is looking very strange and huddled in a corner. A few minutes later, her friends come running out of the bathroom with towels and disappear upstairs to the spare room. At that moment, I didn't care, as I was exhausted and I went to bed. In the morning, my wife went to explain that we would be going back to the hospital, and they said that was great, because the new boyfriend needed to go to the ER as he had a really bad pain. That worked out, as we didn't know what to do with them till they could get their train. This meant we could drop them off, as it was the same hospital and the train station was nearby. We got the all clear and they left. My gran hung on for a week before passing, thankfully in peace. However, when cleaning the spare room, I found that several of my things had been tampered with. 3 model kits that were broken, not unfixable. But the worst was that a mint inbox vintage transformer had been opened. I was incredibly upset by this and ended up ranting about how they were selfish jerks. My wife said she didn't want to complain to them because she didn't want them thinking I don't approve of their lifestyle, which I replied that I don't care what they think. This was about their lack of respect. I calmed down and eventually just dropped it. However, it's now 2 years later and they want to come stay again now that restrictions are easing off. I said that was fine, but they would need to get a hotel, as I'm not having them stay in the spare room. My wife thinks I'm being the jerk for this and didn't want to tell them to do that. Am I the jerk here? Edit. Okay, so initially I cut down the post for word count, but people are asking about the weird bit I left in about coming home and the rabbit. Okay, so it seems like they had been hooking up in the living room. Also, the boyfriend's injury seemed to be a cut that he was worried would be infected. Now, our rabbit can get bitey when he's spooked, So it seems he got in a fright when he saw what they were doing and bit the boyfriend in a really bad spot. Edit 2. Thanks for the support, everyone. It's helped me clear my head and feel like I'm definitely seeing things clearly. I had a talk with my wife when she got home, and she was a bit less freaked out. I think I was angry when she told me they want to come back. I reminded her of all the antics, and she started to sound much more understanding. She asked me to help her craft a message to them to explain things. We listed our problems with their last visit, and she also said she hadn't actually confirmed anything with them yet. We will see what their reply is. Edit. We got a reply back, and it's very apologetic. They apparently forgot to bring it up due to them being worried about the infected cut, but it seems that the model kits were accidentally knocked over by a bag and they meant to tell me. Also, the boyfriend has ADHD and really bad impulse control. He had recently changed his meds and was a bit out of sorts, which I could see he definitely was a bit odd. Anyway, he picked up one of my transformers and flicked the box open before he knew what he was doing. There was cut tape, so it wasn't as easy as it sounds to just flick open. He never actually pulled the toy out and stopped and put it right back away, not realizing that the box got a bit of damage from it. They have said that they wanted to stay at a hotel anyway, as my wife is pregnant and they didn't want to be an inconvenience like last time. Also, maybe fear of the rabbit. They also said they would compensate me for the damages, but I've not actually told them how much the figure was worth. I think they would freak out when they realize, but I wouldn't charge them full cost, just what the loss of value is. Obviously, no talk of the weird other stuff, but this is a good start. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you let them come stay at your house again or not? Please let us know.
No, don't touch my stuff, bruh. And my living room is definitely not the place for you to be getting it on.
Call the maintenance guy to open the gate? Will do. Years ago, I lived in a trailer park, manufactured home community. They were nice trailers, but they were still trailers. And during a summer, when I inherited my dad's little fishing boat, I was informed I wasn't allowed to park the boat in our driveway. It fit completely in the driveway and did not hang out onto the road. When I mentioned that this rule was nowhere in my lease, they said, "Oh, the rules just changed this year. It'll be on your next lease." And it was. I asked what they expected me to do with my boat, and they said, "There's a community lot at the end of the block where tenants are expected to park their trailers and boats. You can park it there for free." Great, that'll free up space in my driveway then. I decided to play along instead of fighting it, and when I went to get my boat out of the lot that Saturday, the gate was locked. I impatiently stomp over to the office, telling them I wasn't told the gate would be locked, and I wasn't given a key to get my boat out. "Oh, the residents don't get keys to that gate." Hold up, you're requiring me to park my boat there, but you're not giving me access to my boat? All you have to do is call the park maintenance guy when you need to get something out, and he'll come open it up. Now, I tried to argue with her about how inconvenient that is for literally everyone involved, and how it would be so much simpler to just make a bunch of copies of the key and sign one over to each person who has to keep something there. Heck, let me borrow the key right now, and I'll go down to the hardware store and I will pay to get my own copy made. You could even make us all sign for the keys, with a fee if we lose it. Sir, we don't do that for security reasons. If there are multiple keys floating around out there, anyone could get access to your boat. I decided to ignore how stupid that was, since if my boat was in my driveway where I really wanted it, anyone could get access to it, and that's what tongue locks are for. I smiled and said, "You know what? You're right. I wasn't thinking clearly. Please give me the phone number for the maintenance guy, and I will just give him a call when I need to get my boat out." I went home and checked the weather for that weekend. Warm, sunny, and calm all Sunday. Sounds like a perfect day for fishing. And you know what? I want to make the most out of my fishing trip, so I'm going to get an early start. I woke up at 5 in the morning, got myself all ready, packed my gear into the back of my truck, and drove on over to the trailer lot. I then called the maintenance guy, who answers with a groggy and clearly still half asleep, "Hello?" Me, in my best crap-eating chipper voice. "Good morning. I was told I have to call you to get my trailer out of the lot." Him. "It's like 5 in the morning. You're going to have to wait." Me. "No, sir. I've got things to do today, and I need to get an early start, so I'm going to need to get into that lot now." Him, with noticeable irritation in his voice. "Give me 5 minutes." About 10 minutes later, he pulls up to the gate, very visibly disgruntled about the whole thing. I just give him a smile and a "Good morning." Him, as he's unlocking the gate. You need your trailer to move tree limbs or something? Me. Oh no, my boat's on it, and I need it for fishing. That couldn't wait until a decent hour? No, my life doesn't revolve around your sleep schedule. Of course, if I had my own key to this gate, you wouldn't need to be here at all. I had a great day fishing. When I got back, the gate was no longer locked, and I never saw a lock on it again. Edit. To be clear, part of the reason I didn't feel too horrible about inconveniencing the maintenance guy is because he was already on my bad side after a run-in about a year earlier when he tried to steal my wife's parrot cage and was generally just useless at his job as a maintenance man anyway. This incident wasn't his fault, and he didn't deserve my maliciousness in this instant, but I'm also not losing any sleep over it. A jerk ditched his date and left me the best tip ever. About 10 years ago, I was managing an Asian fusion restaurant. It was a weekday, so we didn't have a bartender, so I would handle the bar. Our bar was separate from the dining room, so I would go between, making all the mixed drinks and checking on the servers and kitchen. You know, manager stuff. A couple sat down at the bar and ordered a couple of drinks and appetizers. I placed the order and make the drinks, and then a server had an issue that took me a while to solve. We had a good team there, so another server saw that my apps were up and took them out for me. She then came and found me and said, "I took your apps to the bar," but she looks upset. She said everything was fine, but you might want to check on her. From one problem to another, I think. Back at the bar, he was nowhere to be seen, and she, we will call her Kay, was typing angrily on her phone. Her drink, a Cosmo, was empty and his was barely touched. The apps were untouched. I prided myself on knowing what my customers wanted before they did, so started mixing her another drink. She put the phone down and asked for another Cosmo just as I was garnishing. I said, "You mean this one?" and set it in front of her. She gave me that surprised look that I absolutely loved as a server. Then she asked, "He left, didn't he?" "I don't know," I responded, "but I can find out." I did check later, and the hostess said he bailed only a few minutes after they got there. You would not believe what that jerk asked me. Kay then explained that that was supposed to be their first date. They had met through friends and had been talking for some time, but this was the first time for the two of them to go out on just the two of them. After hellos, the first thing he did was ask, "Am I getting lucky tonight?" Needless to say, she reacted negatively to this. He said he needed to go to the bathroom and proceeded to leave the building. Karen asked for another drink. I said, "Sure, but you do need to eat." It was a slow night, and I figured Kay could use some company, so I spent most of my time that night in the bar chit-chatting and polishing glasses and such. Eventually, I said something, and I saw an abrupt change in her demeanor. Never before had I seen such a clear indication that a woman was interested in me. She was attractive, and I was flattered. She ended up hanging out until close, having 5 or 6 drinks and a full meal in 4 hours, and she wasn't very small, so she was probably feeling pretty good, but not drunk. I called her a cab, and when she left, she asked if I would come by later. I said, "No, you are ahead of me on the drinks, but here is my number, and if you still feel the same way tomorrow, I would love to take you out sometime." We ended up dating for a year and a half until we had an amicable breakup. We still talk often and are good friends. Edit. This blew up while I was cooking dinner for the family. It's okay it didn't work out in the end, otherwise I wouldn't have the kiddos I have now. Thank you for all of the good feels, everyone. Am I the jerk for not letting my nephew keep the Switch my husband gave him? I'm 24, female, and my husband, who's male 26, tends to perceive small talks and questions as requests. I don't really know how to explain it, but you have to be very specific with the things you ask him for/to do. For example, if you say that you like his phone and that you plan to get the same one, he's going to gift it to you immediately because he truly believes that's how the world works. It's confusing, but that's how his parents used to communicate with him, and that's how he learned to respond. We are improving a lot, and I know he has the biggest heart, but sadly, this has led to people taking advantage of him and taking his things away because he has a hard time saying no. Also, he just doesn't comprehend at first, but if you try to explain to him, he would, eventually, understand that you just want to talk and not ask him for anything. However, my family thinks that this is perfect, especially my sister and my brother-in-law, since my husband comes from a well-off family. They feel entitled to ask him for any luxury they want to have. An elegant dinner in a fancy restaurant with all paid? Ask OP's husband. Any material thing they want to have? Ask OP's husband. Thanks to that, I had to block them on my husband's phone to make sure they can only talk to him in my presence, meaning that I can control the things they ask for and just say no. They think that I'm the jerk because I'm enjoying all his money, and that I'm selfish because we're a family and we should share it all. I just ignore them because I'm not wasting his money and I'm always trying to help him. I know that he loves my family, and if it were for him, he would give them the world. But it's not fair. He isn't an ATM. Yesterday, my sister, who's 31, and brother-in-law, who's 38, and my nephew, who's 8, came to hang out with us, which seemed rare, but okay. I let it go because my husband was so happy to see them and he really adores our nephew. So while they all were playing, my sister expected me to be their maid because they deserve a day in my life. We ended up arguing over this and my husband took out nephew away. They, again, called me a selfish jerk and I ended up asking them to leave and called my nephew. When he came back into the room, he had my husband's Switch with everything he had in his hands. He said that my husband gave it to him, which again, I was confused, so I asked him if that was true, and he said that my nephew asked him if he could keep it and that he said yes. I told my nephew that he couldn't keep it because that belonged to my husband and reminded him of his uncle's condition, that maybe we could give him one for Christmas. My sister and brother-in-law started to argue that if he gave it to him, then he could keep it, and tried to leave with it. I was honestly tired at this point and just took the Switch back and told them to stop behaving like beggars in front of their kid. Edit. OMG, I didn't expect this to blow up as it did. It's late now, but I will try to answer some of you tomorrow. However, there's something I want to address. My husband's family are not bad people, and his brother loves him with all his heart. Please stop acting as if trusting them is the biggest error of my life. Guys, it's not. They adore him.
Come watch this video next, you will love it. And huge shout out to our newest official channel member, Salty Freak Show Jada. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, it really means the world to us. Join as a channel member today and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. And to have us make a video for you, head over to our Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.